Welcome to County Connection, where we talk about events, programs, and services offered by Summit County government. I'm your host, Julie Suter. We have a great show lined up for this September episode. We're going to be talking about how to compost your food scraps, how to recycle your glass, and new mental health services available in our local schools. Thanks for joining us. For our first segment of this September episode, we'll talk about how to recycle your food scraps. And here to tell us all about it are Rachel Zerowin from High Country Conservation Center and Aaron Byrne from the Summit County Resource Allocation Park. Welcome, Rachel and Aaron.
Hi, Julie.
Thanks.
All right. So we have a new program that Summit County and HC3 are working together to launch, and that is giving people a greater opportunity to recycle our food scraps into a material that we can use right here in Summit County. So let's start off by talking about why it's so important to recycle food scraps and give them a new life.
For sure. Do you want to take that one, Ryan?
Sure, I'd love to. Well, Julie, thank you. We'd love to talk about that, especially here in Summit County, to educate our community. But the benefits to keep those organics and food scraps out of the landfill is adding those into the landfill creates methane gas, as we all know, and we want to do everything we can to reduce those emissions here in Summit County. So by diverting those and having a higher beneficial use for the community and being able to produce a high quality compost is an awesome benefit for everyone here in the county. So we encourage everybody to do what we can. The education is very important, but to be able to focus on that food scrap, organic diversion here in Summit County or our landfill, there's a lot of very significant benefits to keep that out of the landfill and out of the waste stream.
Great.
Yeah.
And so, Aaron, you have a lot of kind of up close and personal time with what goes into our landfill. So can you give us a sense of how much of our waste stream is food scraps? I don't know if you have exact numbers or more just a kind of qualitative sense of it.
A national standard is about 30% when we look at organics and food scraps. I would say here in the county it might be just a little lower, somewhere in that 25, 27 range. We're in the process of doing a waste comp study, so we're going to get a lot of that information in our final report. So we're looking forward to get that information, that data. But really, I mean, looking at the low-hanging fruit, we have a lot of grocery stores here in the county and restaurants and big producers of these food scraps and these organics. So we really want to target those. To be able to get those removed and diverted from the landfill. And then obviously at some point we'll focus on the larger scale low-hanging fruit, but look at the residential side and aspect as well.
Excellent. And Rachel, are you going to add something about the benefits of?
Well, yeah, for all my fellow geeks out there, Aaron mentioned methane. So methane as a heat trapping gas is 28 times more potent than carbon pollution. So you might ask why we should care about methane emissions. That's a big one. So super huge way to prevent that. So that's one of the things I like to throw out there.
Yeah, great. So in terms of a climate change impact, or any opportunity to reduce methane emissions, we certainly want to grab hold of it.
Exactly, too. And as Aaron mentioned, just to keep it out of the landfill, it's surprising, even if you are a dedicated person who does all your meal planning and shopping, it's pretty surprising what can add up with watermelon rinds, especially in the summertime, right? Pineapples, things like that.
Right. Most recently, we've expanded the opportunities that our residents and property owners have to take their food scraps and make sure that they are reused to see a better day. So tell us about how this program works.
Sure. So one of the most important things that I think everybody needs to know is that it's free. That's the big deal. So previously HC3 ran a small program that cost money, but now thanks to Strong Future, we do have the ability, as Aaron said, to expand that out to all residents. So folks can collect food scraps at home, up to 10 gallons a week, and drop those off at either the Breckenridge or the Frisco Recycling Center. And the containers there are kept locked, so they're bear-proofed. We don't want any animals getting in or hurting the wildlife or anything. So So there is a reason that they're kept locked. And then there is a code that you have to get. And to do that, you just go to the HC3 website, which is highcountryconservation.org. You can sign up there. It's, again, absolutely free. You'll get a code. You'll understand what you can and cannot put in those food scrap bins, which is pretty much food scraps only. So if you walk away with one thing, food scraps only. That includes meat. It includes bones, shells, shrimp shells, things like that. And then, of course, all your fruits and veggies, leftovers, and even dairy. So,
okay, great. And Rachel, so we don't want to see things like any yard waste or any of the what we call the manufactured compostables. So something that is like forks or plates or napkins or things like that that say compostable on the outside. So if it's not food or food scrap or I guess bones aren't exactly food, but something that was connected and part of your food at some point, then it's not part of the program.
That's exactly right. So none of those so-called compostable products, no paper products, no yard waste. If you ever have a question in your mind, it's food and food only. So, and that just helps Aaron and these guys produce a really nice product. So.
Right. So speaking of that product, so once all of these food scraps go into the collection bins at the Frisco or the Breckenridge Recycle Centers, and they make it up to the Summit County Resource Allocation Park, what happens to them, Aaron?
So that's when the process starts and the interesting stuff happens.
So the magic happens.
The magic happens, yeah. So we bring those materials into scrap, and then we put them into our processing, and we process the compost. We have about a 120-day process where we're able to process the materials. We process many different kinds of materials at scrap, but we're able to process those materials in about 120 days, meet all the state and EPA guidelines for certification and testing, and we're able to produce a finished compost that we sell back to the community. So one of the things that we've talked about, and we're trying to encourage more folks, if they enroll in our program, we talked about that this morning, that we would be offering some free compost along with that.
Excellent.
So I think there's a full circle there that we're really trying to achieve and bring back to the community. So if you're participating in the program, we would love to give it back. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Great. It seems like of all the environmental programs out there to participate in, that you'd be hard pressed to find something more local where you see the from start to finish, just right here in our own community.
Yeah.
Exactly, and the compost is great. We use it in all the community gardens at the CSA farm, and it really does wonders. So it's a great benefit. And then, as Aaron mentioned, in addition to the free compost this spring, we're also giving out a limited number of compost buckets. So that's another really nice perk to the program. So again, limited number, starting in late September. For anyone who enrolls in the program, again, must go to that free enrollment at highcountryconservation.org. We'll have buckets available to pick up for free in our office, and you might ask what you might do with a food scrap bucket, but that's the container that you would put under your sink, on your kitchen counter, so you can collect those food scraps conveniently, because that's a big part of it. It's got to be convenient, easy to access.
Right.
So we provide the buckets, leak-proof, odor-proof, a really great way to just get you rolling and get you food scrap recycling.
All right, fantastic. Anything that either of you have to add about this program?
I think it just to encourage the community for all the hard work that goes into what everybody's doing to support and increase this diversion, the things that are going to the landfill. The organics is a big focus of ours, and we appreciate the community support in this through Strong Future. And I think it's important.
Which voters approved at the polls in November of 2018.
Correct, yeah. And if we can get a bucket in everybody's house to be able to do the residential collection or partake in this program, I mean, there's incremental steps to get to where we need to get to, but over time, it'll be a huge impact to this community and extend the life of our landfill and reduce the emissions, and that's our overall goal. So we want to do everything we can as a community to have a better environment here in Summit County.
Awesome, great. Well, thanks to both of you for your work on this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
All right, so be sure to get in touch with Rachel and her team at High Country Conservation Center and sign up for the composting program. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about how we are getting glass out of the landfill as well.